The QI, where tonight is a chaotic clutter of K-words. Let's clock the contestants. The kind-hearted Sarah Pascoe. The Calipigian Jack Whitehall. The knowledgeable David Mitchell. And knock me down with a kangaroo, it's Alan Davis. And this week's call signs are all K creatures. Sarah goes...
Is it a bird?
Yes.
OK, it's a bird.
In this movie? And a British wonderful...
The man who was in Love with the Kestrel.
Short and Kestrel.
Kes.
Kes, yeah.
Oh, that was
but
my
that's the film.
question.
Very good. And Jack goes...
Oh,
got to know that.
Okay, that is Kevin Bacon getting into really hot water. I'd know that sound anywhere. He likes it lukewarm.
He does. Kookaburra is the right answer to Kookaburra. David goes...
Is that a Klingon spacecraft?
Killer bee! Killer bee!
Killer bee.
Exactly, there you go. And Alan goes... It's genuine animal recording.
Kangaroo.
No.
Koala.
Yes!
Yes!
It's a koala! Who would have thought the koala sounded like that? Anyway, there we go. Just before we start, I've got a bit of very good news for you, David, because your old nemesis, Colin, the QI scorer, has been replaced by a new scorer called Murray, who happens to be a huge fan of yours. So I think that bodes well for this evening.
Well, I'm very glad to hear it.
Excellent.
Told me too late to bribe him.
What's happened to Colin, though? Why
He's been promoted, actually. He's now, I think, probably counting votes in the House of Lords, or something similar. But
We're one step away from the House of
yes, we are. Exactly.
I think this programme would be an excellent House of Reform.
It would,
Just
wouldn't it?
let all the legislation come before us, we'll fiddle with it, hopefully, gag it up a bit, send it on to the Queen.
My government will find 6 penises on this particular insect. Tends to be about the QI. Anyway, let's kick off. What is this? It's a noise. Listen out carefully. We're beginning with K. Yeah.
A klaxon.
Oh! In a strange sort of way, pop just ate itself, didn't it? A klaxon gave a klaxon. We call it the klaxon. It's not actually.
So is that a brand name? Like the Tannoy
Brilliant.
or a Hoover?
Absolutely right, just like Tannoy or Hoover.
So what is it, an alarm?
It's basically a siren, a noise, and an alarm noise, exactly.
Okay.
Klaxon has a very specific sound. It belongs to a company called Lovell McConnell Manufacturing. They were first fitted to cars, and they were the first electric thing ever to be attached to an automobile, the klaxon.
So they needed an alarm before a light?
So the sound we heard was you just call it some general word, but technically it's not a klaxon. Now, automobiles, America, the land of the free, the land of the automobile. You can imagine that in places like Pennsylvania, they must have welcomed them when they arrived, yes?
No. No.
It's the right answer. Alan, you're really getting the hang of
Played this before. You have to intuit.
You would be astounded by the Farmers Anti-Automobile Association of Pennsylvania with its list of impractical requirements for motorists. Automobiles travelling on country roads at night must send up a rocket every mile. Then wait 10 minutes for the road to clear. The driver may then proceed with caution, blowing his horn and shooting off Roman candles. If the driver of an automobile sees a team of horses approaching, he is to stop, pull to one side of the road, almost cover his machine with a blanket or dust cover, which is painted or coloured to blend into the scenery. In case a horse is unwilling to pass an automobile on the road, the driver of the car must take the machine apart as rapidly as possible and conceal the parts in the bushes. It really didn't want motor cars in Pennsylvania. Honking the horn, is that a sensible, safe thing to do? Does it avoid accidents?
Oh, it'll frighten the horses.
Well, obviously, let's assuming we're talking about now when they're underneath.
Wouldn't it raise aggression? Hearing a loud noise makes you probably release adrenaline, and then your instincts would be flawed, I would have thought.
I think you're absolutely right.
I've driven in Italy. I've been on tour in Italy, and the word go is die in Italy. Die, die, die! I'm 19, I'm not a driver.
No, but you're absolutely right. There's no evidence that using the horn contributes to safety.
There's something interesting with police sirens, isn't there? Because it's 2 different notes, and the reason is if you hear one note for a long time, you can't tell where it's coming from.
That's exactly right. You genuinely can't tell. Is that in front of me, or is it behind me? You just don't know. In America, they have a very good rule when you hear a siren on the road. You just simply stop driving.
And go and have a meal.
And then... But it actually somehow works out incredibly well, and the emergency vehicle just...
But they have wider roads.
They have much wider roads, of course, But it does work fantastic.
Everybody
does it.
See which of the emergency services it is, and then decide
Oh, it's only an ambulance, they
Well,
don't
you're
count.
not
Or
gonna
it's only a fire.
What is that, then?
It's the police. There's something sort of vaguely right-wing about it.
So where were we? Yes, horn sounding does not, it seems, contribute to the safety of drivers at all. In Britain, we have almost zero tolerance of hooting your horn. But even more intolerant were the Nazis. And in 1936, they started
They're not
putting...
known for their intolerance.
No, I know, it's surprising. But we thought
This
we
whole
knew...
thing has become intolerable.
We thought we
Camp,
knew...
I think.
We thought we knew everything they were intolerant of, but it turns out even hooting your horn, they would actually punish the driver by putting yellow dots on their car. So it was like a sign, like, here's a hooter. He sounds his horn and people
I've
would turn their
completely
back.
changed my opinion of the Nazis. I thought they were a pretty reasonable bunch of guys. This yellow dot business.
It is just a shocking outfit. Anyway, there you go. So the QI klaxon isn't a klaxon at all. On the other hand, what is this stuff here? Nice and loud, isn't it?
The Velcro.
According to the website of Velcro Industries BV, there's no such thing as Velcro. Velcro is the name of our companies and the registered trademark for our products. It is not the generic name of that product that fastens shoes, pockets, and hundreds of other things. That product should be referred to as hook and loop fastener. This matters, they say, because many terms that we use frequently in our everyday language were once trademarks, like escalator, thermos, cellophane, and nylon. Notice they don't mention heroin, which was also a trademark once. All these terms lost their distinction as trademarks because their owners allowed them to be misused by the public. So now you know. You can't buy a piece of Velcro, but you can purchase all of the Velcro brand hook and loop fasteners you need. This is Velcro. Hook and loop fasten it. The inventor of it called it Velcro. Do you know why it's called Velcro? It was a Swiss guy, and he noticed the way burrs caught to his socks. And he had to pull them off. And he noticed there was a, like, hook action on a burr, little green... You're a city boy. No, burrs.
Kicking in the air.
Little burrs, you know, little green round things with hooks on them. They stick on your socks and other bits like that. And he noticed that effect, and he reproduced it. And he used the words for velvet and hook, which are velour, vel, and crochet, crow. Georges de Mestral, his name was, and he took it from nature. There's so many good ideas come from. You'll notice another similar kind of copyright issue with the well-known musical, often performed in schools by Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice, one of their very first works, which is...
Technicolor
also,
Yawn.
yeah, Technicolor, exactly. Have you noticed the way it's always spelled and what follows the word Technicolor?
No.
It's a trade
Is
name.
it?
Yeah, they have to spell it like that, the American way, in order to use the word Technicolor. They have to show that it's a registered
See,
trademark.
God really missed a trick not doing more of that in the Bible. I think he came up with the idea originally. They just added some songs.
And he took the Apple, registered trademark. Not that it was an Apple, of course.
Yeah, how
Rather
do
be-
you register a word? I mean, what if I registered the?
No, it's quite important that it doesn't exist, which is why you get things like Nuclean, spelled N-U-K-L-E-N-E, so that you can register that spelling of
So
it.
Apple could...
Apple did have a big fight on that with another company called Apple, which was the famous Beatles one, which took years and years to resolve.
But the original inventor of the apple.
No, the fruit was nature, which took
perhaps nature,
hundreds of
perhaps
millions of years.
God or gods.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It's only called
never
Apple.
sued.
Only called Apple in the English language.
Right. They don't call the computers POMs.
Oh, the
in
computers, though, the
France.
computer, but then... God, that's just confusing. You were talking about the inventor of the fruit just then, and now you've suddenly sidestepped with a blithe disregard of a bloody pansy.
I've never
meant the
thought
flower.
that flower is particularly
Blind.
disregarding of me. Or blind. I think they look like they're frowning.
I know what you mean, like
Yeah.
I'm
snapdragons.
so lost on
Yeah.
this.
The pansy, the flower.
I just don't know what they look like.
No, never.
We have a generation that don't know what pansies look like. The flowers.
I know they're flowers, I got that bit.
How would you not know?
Because we're too busy texting, listening to JLS and going out. Do you know what a wicket
Try,
is?
my beloved country. Oh, hell's teeth and a bucket of blood. This is...
It will be sorted when the Jaeger bomb round comes along. That is
what a Jaeger bomb is?
My dad genuinely said,
That's how
referred
young.
to it as a Jaguar bomb the other day. He uses emoticons in text as well, my dad. He's 74 years old, and he uses the little faces that teenage girls use. Not that I text teenage girls. And he uses that.
Your sister uses, yeah.
He sent me a message, and it was the most harrowing thing I've ever read, but it shouldn't have been. It went, "Dear Jack, are you coming over for Sunday lunch? Your sister's going to be there. Winky face."
That's wrong. Deeply wrong. How did that happen?
Family roast.
Oh, lordy, lordy. Anyway, according to Velcro, there's no such thing as Velcro, except for this, which is Velcro. Now, everyone knows what knees, knuckles and kidneys are, but what's the point of these less familiar cave parts of the body? Kieselbach's plexus, the valves of Kirkring, the end bulbs of Krauser, the balls of Cone.
That is the best nickname for someone's balls ever. Behold, the end bulbs of Kraus!
Kneel before the end
Kneel
bulbs
before
of
them.
Krauser.
It is not all Star Trek movies.
Star Trek 19, the valves of Kirkring, Kieselberg's plexus. They have magnificent names. They are all parts of the human anatomy. The valves of Kirkring are actually folds. Would that help you at all? Where do we have lots and lots of folds?
Intestines?
Yes. Well done. Get in there.
This is
Got in there with our smaller gut. There it is, the valves of Kirkring.
This is like the QI version of that game, Operation.
So what had Kirkring done that someone named disgusting, shitty bits of the body?
He was a 17th century Dutch anatomist who was a friend and coeval of the philosopher Spinoza. And as you know from those wonderful Rembrandt paintings, the anatomy was a big subject in Holland. They were fascinated and curious. So fantastic discoveries being made. And one of them was this lower intestine, which is 22 feet long and then a few inches wide. But if unfolded, it would cover a tennis court.
Surely
Just
that's-
yours. A tennis court. And mine. What, 2 tennis courts?
What, the whole of the tennis court or just the
No,
lines?
the whole of the tennis court, including for doubles play. It's pretty astonishing.
So what's interesting about the intestine is we used to be herbivores, which is why we have so much intestine, because when you only eat plants, you have to take a really long time digesting to get everything out of them. And now we're carnivores, and it's sometimes why we have digestive problems in terms of dairy and stuff. But giant pandas, who are carnivores, they have a very... they were carnivores.
Oh, were they?
So we're one of only 3 species that have changed over, one to the other. It's us pandas and squirrel.
Squirrels used to be carnivore.
A kind of squirrel that I
Oh,
can't
right.
remember.
Right.
But giant pandas, that's why they have so much problem, because they have a very short intestine without all of these flaps.
Yeah.
So they only eat bamboo, which goes straight through them, which means they have to eat it all day long.
No, it's so boring.
That's
Yeah,
why
no.
they never have sex.
Yeah, exactly.
As a rule note, you cannot have sex on indigestion.
You definitely get points for that.
What happened that the pandas gave up on meat?
Evolution and their circumstances. their
Well, I mean, it's not
environments.
working very well for them.
You're going to get logically cross with them now.
You know, I mean, it seems...
They took a wrong step.
Idiotic. They can't... there's like 25 minutes a year they can have sex and it will work if they can be bothered, which they never can. They look ridiculous.
Let's bring looks into this.
I'm not saying they're not sweet, but they're not dignified, are they? Then the wise panda came. Never mind what the panda thinks, the panda's an idiot.
Okay.
If you want to make bungle in Rainbow seem high status, bring on a panda.
I'm with David on this. If you're endangered, you eat what you get. Like, if a rhino turned around and was like, sorry, no carbs before Marbs, then it deserves to die. Young person reference.
I think they probably used to eat things that don't exist anymore.
Oh, like dinosaurs.
Little guys.
Lovely little crunchy one.
Really light pandas. Used to go up and go, oh, they're really... Oh!
That would be evolution. Great.
What's
You
that?
evolved to look cute to something you want to eat.
Yes, like, you know, back to parts of the body. Those are the valves of Kirkring. What about these, then? The pores of Cone.
The bell ends.
No, we're going to come to the bell ends, Alan. Wait for the bell ends. They will come. But the pores of Cone. I don't know what's going to come up. I never know what's going to issue
It's
from
another,
me.
another ringtone, I can't wait. That is Twitter in a nutshell.
Aye, aye, aye. The pores of Cone are incredibly important. We need them deeply.
There
They're
are
not pores-
holes in the surface of the skin.
Not in the skin. Those are where we have obviously millions of pores.
They're an internal pore.
They're internal
Is
pores.
it on bones?
No, not in bones. They're in order to equalise pressure.
In the lungs.
And as a backup system in the lungs, exactly right, yeah. Named after a German pathologist who was expelled by the Nazis in 1933. But there they are.
Did he bib his horn?
Yes.
I found some pores in the lungs!
I wish it were for such an
Out,
good
get
thing.
out.
There you go.
And amazingly, they form an emergency backup system along with the canals of Lambert and the fenestrations of Borum.
I thought you said butler. That would have been perfect.
I know what a defenestration is chucking someone out of a window, so a fenestration is presumably chucking someone in.
No, it's just a window shaping, I think a window-making
right.
thing. It was the defenestration of Prague, wasn't it? It was a historical event. Quite know what happened there. But
People got thrown out.
out of windows. The whole city wasn't thrown out of a window.
In Prague.
Yes, in Prague. But
The defenestration of Amsterdam was a historical event that happened on a stag do that I did.
I'm sure it did.
Those prostitutes do not like getting touched.
Oh.
Not me!
Oh, right. You mean the with window ones?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I got you. Just for a minute, I was really
I'm
disturbed.
not there.
No.
By the way, if I was, that's how I do it.
You'd never be out of work, I promise you. The end bulbs... the end bulbs...
Work. I mean,
The end
work.
bulbs of Krauser.
Yeah.
Now, what could they be?
The helmet.
We have them on the genitalia in mulberry-like clusters, as a matter of fact.
Mulberry-like.
Mulberry-like, we have a lot of them on
What, the
on the
little funny
genitals.
bits on the...
Pimple bits on the right that are all...
that. He's like sister.
Those bits there.
On that. Those movements there and there.
Oh, yeah, here. You know when you take it out to go to the loo, right? And then you get the winch down.
I had to take a step ladder to go to the loo.
Hey, no, they're smaller than that, but they are incredibly sensitive to a particular condition.
Lady.
To what particular lady, no. We also have them all over the skin, not just, but they are very concentrated on the genitalia for particular reasons. Particularly the male genitalia are very sensitive to your swinging...
Is that cheating?
Yes. I have a special isolated camera above you. I just thought I'd warn you. Well, I do.
Sorry, Colin.
But no, as you know, the survival of spermatozoa is very dependent on a very narrow range of what?
Temperature.
Temperature, exactly.
That's why we've got balls.
Yeah.
Because they have to be kept separate from the...
Precisely.
Like hanging milk outside a student room. Yes. Keep it cold.
So if it's very, very warm, they
Yeah.
sort of tend to droop down and sort of swing a bit, get the air around them.
Yes.
And if it's very, very cold, they shrink up
They
and
tend
keep...
to head home.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And snuggle up to the blood supply.
Or if you're watching Loose Women.
Or maybe. I should imagine
In
that
a
would-
cold room.
Yes, in a cold room. So yes, these endobulbs of Krauser are tiny little bits all over the skin, not just the genital. They're not as big
Whose
as
willy's that?
No, they're not just... to make it clear, they're all over the body.
They
He needs to see a
goose
doctor.
They're not the goose pimples themselves, no. They're tiny and they sense cold.
But could you see an end bulb of Krauser?
I don't think so. I think
They're too
I-
small to
I-
see.
yeah.
But they're there working out if it's cold.
Yes.
If it's hot, they knock off.
Absolutely right. They're activated by temperatures lower than 20 degrees Celsius.
Oh, they're pretty busy in this country.
Yeah, they certainly are. They certainly are. And so that leaves us with Kieselbach's plexus. A plexus, as in complex, is a sort of network.
So it's a nerve endings thing, is
The
it?
brain.
The brain, yeah.
No, actually, it's a network of connected arteries.
The heart.
No,
I'm just going to say things. And that's it. I've been...
It's in the nasal septum. Yeah, it's a little network of arteries. It's around the point where we're most likely to have a nosebleed. And we've covered this before, Alan. When you have a nosebleed, Alan, you should pinch your nose and lean...
Forwards.
Lean
Well,
back.
remember... Ah!
Oh, well,
forwards.
just in time.
Yeah, just in time. Lean back, the blood might go down your throat. Anyway,
This picture you've got of Tara Palmer Tompkins with her makeup off is amazing.
now, why do doctors hit your knee with a hammer?
To test your reflexes.
Yeah.
That's correct, but what reflexes are they?
The reflexes are big.
It's a
You
muscle...
know the
always
score.
a really-
He's so no Murray.
It's always a really cold hammer, so maybe they're testing the end bulbs of Kirchel-Bircher Coucher. Just checking.
No, it's not the end bulb of Krauser. It's
Because they don't like
There's nerves that
yeah.
run from the thigh upwards to the...
head.
No. No, you would think
Yeah,
that.
it's something to do. So the expression's like a knee-jerk response.
knee-jerk reaction, yeah, knee-jerk.
Because it doesn't go to the brain.
Yeah,
it goes. It communicates amongst itself.
Well, it goes up
somehow.
to the spinal cord. It doesn't go all the way up to the brain at all.
Yeah.
So it is unmediated by the brain entirely. So it is absolutely an
But you can-
It only happens in two times. One is when you get hit on the knee with a little hammer like that, and the other is when you're asleep on a crowded train. It's only two times. And you never see a doctor rushing off with a little hammer.
So what are they hoping to see, doctors, when they tap you on the knee?
So they want you to do that. They want you to kick.
Actually, if it's too big, it could be a sign of really bad things.
Oh.
So that is a pretty healthy one.
Sorry, this footage is on Luke.
It's on Luke.
Oh, yeah. This is the worst medical ever. Just stop with the bloody knee. Grab my balls,
Well, you
cloth,
can't-
and let's leave.
No, it's the relative strength of the twitch that is really important. Too much of a twitch might indicate a brain tumour, stroke, liver disease, multiple sclerosis, or tetanus. And too little might mean botulism, damaged nervous system, or an infected spine. And none at all would well be an index or a sign of...
Or wooden leg.
wooden leg.
Or death.
Or
yeah.
death, or syphilis.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Don't get much of that anymore. You
As
don't
if
get
that was
much of
tonight's
it.
star prize. Forget gonorrhea, go for syphilis. You keep the chlamydia, all right? That's yours. No one can take that away. The chlamydia's yours, the
Point at
genital
me, I
warts are
haven't got
yours.
any of them.
I'm pointing at both of you.
I think the whole point with chlamydia is people can take it away from you.
That's right. Anyway,
What
yeah.
if you did a murder with your reflex? If someone
It does
sort of
happen.
attacked your knee and in reflex you had a knife attached
broke
to your
their neck.
shoe or something and you killed them, would you be able to say, but the reflex, it didn't go to my brain, it only went to the bottom of my spine, so I didn't really do it?
Yes.
That's like when you're driving and you have an automated response. It's called like murder by automata, but you don't go to prison. So if you sneeze, for instance, and then you run someone over, someone sneezed.
Yeah. Talking about a reflex.
That means there's been
There's a
a
killer!
murder!
That's murdered someone.
Now they know they'll get away with it. It's something like
If you walk into a
one.
room with a gun, cocked, sneeze, it goes off, you kill someone, you're in the clear.
So if you want to kill your wife, what you do is you drive down to Dover, you get her right up against the cliff, and then you put your leg behind her, and then get a doctor to tap the knee. There she goes.
And the doctor would go to prison.
That would act up.
The doctor would go to prison.
I think so.
What if he was sneezing as he tapped the knee?
The perfect crime. Broadchurch series 2. That's all.
I love this imaginary super compliant wife that you found. Just come all the way here and stand there. What are you doing here?
Why does the GP come with us?
Get her out of the house.
Isn't it a lovely view, my love? Stand still.
So, when you're hammered, a knee-jerk response is a total no-brainer. Now, why did McCartney's knees displease the Chinese?
There is a thing with Paul McCartney where some people don't believe he's Paul McCartney anymore. They believe that he died, and then they had a competition, a Paul McCartney-like competition, and the winner is now Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
There's a similar theory about the Pope, isn't there? That, you know,
Oh,
it's not like the same guy, there's been more than one. Yeah, because otherwise he'd been, you know, 2,000 years old, so...
There's also a conspiracy theory with Teddy Mortimer from East 17. That, no, I made that up. I thought it could run.
Yeah, but actually, I'm afraid we're not talking about Paul McCartney. This is actually the first Earl McCartney in the 18th century. And there is a picture of him, and you can see he's down on one knee, bowing, quite straight-backed, to... Who might that be, that figure that he's bowing to?
Some.
It'd be an emperor.
The Emperor of...
China?
Oh, the Emperor of China, absolutely. And now, in order to demonstrate obeisance to the Emperor of China, you have to do a particular thing, the Chinese for which is to knock your head. In other words, knock your head on the ground. You know what the Chinese for knock your head is?
Kowtow?
Kowtow is the right answer. To kowtow. Yeah, bravo. Well done. And in an act that shocked the world and had been described afterwards as possibly the most significant act in world history.
He refused to kowtow?
He refused to kowtow to the emperor. And he had a trade delegation, and not surprisingly, the trade delegation was refused, was rebuffed. Chinese scholars nowadays, sinologists, believe that, in fact, they were just not interested in having trade relations with Europe and the rest of the world. And, indeed, the following year, a Dutch trade leader kowtowed something like 30 times, including to a biscuit or some similar sweetmeat that had been sent to him by the emperor. And he even kowtowed to that in public to show how willing he was to kowtow, and he got rebuffed as well. So,
Did McCartney do something else, though, to greet him?
no, well, you saw in that opening picture.
Yeah.
A straight
He
back,
just did
one
straight
down on one.
It's not like he went, suck, bitch.
Oh, no. It could have been
Moon
definitely.
him.
Yeah.
Exactly. This was in 1793 that this incident, called one of the most decisive moments in world history, happened. But it, you know, obviously trade with China was fantastically important then, as it is fantastically important now.
Look what you can see in the back of that shop. There's a man dismantling his car out of respect. With that landscape. That isn't real landscape, that is a sheet.
There's a Ford Mondeo behind.
And a very small-headed horse.
They do this. They do this to make men look taller. The Charles I statue at the end of Whitehall, Trafalgar Square's got a really tiny head because Charles I was so short.
He loved being painted on a horse because he was a very short man. There's a really wonderful secret thing about the Oliver Cromwell statue outside the...
Oh, the Oliver Cromwell
He's got his
looks-
flies undone.
No, the one that's outside the House of Parliament, and that looks at a Charles I bust on
That's right.
Westminster
A tiny
Abbey.
bust, about that big.
Because they wanted to leave them staring at each other for all eternity, these enemies.
So you see this big thing of Cromwell outside the House
And
of
a
Parliament.
tiny little
and you would
Charles
never, ever see it. There's a little chapel
Yeah.
on the Westminster Abbey side. And there's like a little circle there, and there's this tiny face
So when we-
staring straight up at him.
But there was little symbols. You know about the black dot? So this is really
No,
boring.
this is great. This is all...
You saw it on Cash in the Attic as well. Where's he got all the money?
Opposite Banqueting House, where Charles I was
Yes.
executed, at the Horse Guard
Guards Parade,
entrance,
yeah.
on the clock at 2:15, there's a black dot, which is the time that he was executed, to remind people as they're walking past. There's symbols all over London to remind people. I used to do tour guiding on buses.
I'm really
Sorry.
impressed. That's
Sorry.
absolutely fantastic. This is a fantastic tour guide of London you must have been. That's superb information. Now, what happened to the botanist who couldn't tell heads from coconuts? Not...
Is this like the man who mistook his wife for a hat?
it's not...
So,
That's wonderful.
so Oliver
Is that a
Sacks...
Channel 4 documentary?
No, I know what you mean, like a freak.
OK, so it's a kind of... Something happens in the brain,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting.
The two halves of the brain are separated, for example, and all various different
They
things.
don't communicate very well,
Yeah.
but I mean, we find out so much about how the brain works when people have brain damage.
Exactly.
And so the man who mistook his wife for a hat, he was married, and when he left Oliver Sacks's office for the first time, he tried to take her head off. It's all my hat stuck.
Yeah.
And he did lovely things, like when he was walking along the road, he would pat bollards, thinking they were children playing.
Yeah. And you get other cases where they can't feel one half of their body. They don't know.
Yeah.
They're absolutely terrified by their hand. It's like an alien
phantom
thing.
limbs. And in
You, wait, so
hospitals,
wait,
people
you
jumping
can't
out of bed.
feel your own hand. It's like someone
Yeah.
else's. I want whatever this is. I want it. That sounds
You know,
amazing.
sitting on
I
it
sat on it for months.
It didn't
Stephen.
work.
There's cases of like people in hospitals.
What's it called?
throwing themselves-
Ananyama.
I read the book by Oliver Sacks. Well, actually, it isn't a fascinating neurological condition he had. It was merely incompetence of language.
Oh.
And in Indonesia, on the island of Ambon in 1913, a very popular Canadian botanist by the name of Charles Budd Robinson was merrily having a nice time getting on with the local people, and he asked some villagers if they could get a boy to climb a palm and chop down a coconut, which would be Parong Kalapa. Unfortunately, he said Potong Kapala, which means to find a boy and chop off his head. So they thought he was a headhunter, which they had in those parts then, and they murdered him.
We've all done that. I was in Marbella once.
And, yeah, I had in Italy, so penne arrabbiata is a kind of his pasta sauce, but penne with one N is penis.
Yes,
You're also
indeed.
asking for an angry penis. If you
You
pronounce
do
that
have to do
wrongly.
the double penne.
Yeah.
It's not penne, but
Yeah.
penne. It's really difficult.
And also, no one wants an angry penis
That
for dinner.
explains a lot. I worked as a waiter in Italy. I had no idea they wanted pasta.
If you said penne puttanesca, that would mean prostitute's penis. 'Cause that's what puttanesca means.
And some people do like that.
There you go. So, in fact, funnily enough, that same slip is part of their tourist trade, the difference in Kalapa and Kapala, because you have Kalapa Kapala sold on the island as mementos, which are coconuts shaped into heads. Kalapa Kapala. There you are. Kalapa
Oh, they're
Kapala.
beautiful,
Aren't they lovely? Well, OK.
Must be worth 10 or 15 pence.
There's an Indonesian tongue twister that goes Kalapa Diparut, Kapala Digaruk, Kalapa Diparut, Kapala Digaruk, which means coconut being grated, head being scratched. Coconut being grated, head being scratched.
Don't say it,
I'd
though,
love to
'cause someone will
say
kill
it,
you.
And we've even got a fantastic Finnish little one. It goes cocoa, cocoon, cocoa, 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 cocoa.
How now, brown cat?
Collect all the wood for the bonfire. All the wood for the bonfire? Yes, all the wood. Stupid things.
Yeah.
Anyway, Charles Robinson lost his nut for a coconut. What's a knocker-upper's knocker-upper?
Well, that would be the person that wakes the person that went around the streets waking people by bashing their windows with a long stick.
Is completely, utterly and entirely the right answer.
Oh.
Absolutely, yes. It seems obvious when you think about it that after the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, as people flocked into cities, they didn't work the usual daylight hours, they had worked in the countryside, and there were no such things as alarm clocks. So they had to be woken up for getting to mill by a tap on the window by a man with a long
So
stick.
do these guys stay up all night?
That's the point. A knocker-upper's knocker-upper, as David rightly
Yeah.
said, was someone who did stay up all night. And then their last act was to wake up the sleeping knocker-uppers. And then they'd go to bed and be on the night shift, you know, as it were. There was a Dorset knocker-upper, some of them were quite well known, called Caroline Jane Cousins, known as Granny Cousins, who used a lantern on a long pole, so in winter times it sent a bit of light as well as a tap,
So it's like
tap,
one of the SAD lamps.
Yes.
Kind of happens gradually.
Exactly.
Did anyone have, like, nice breakfasts?
Nice
That would be a
breakfast for
nice
people
touch,
who
wouldn't
work in
it?
mill.
Bacon and eggs on the end of a pole. Very
They
nice.
still do this in some Premier Inns.
Lenny Henry.
Lenny,
wakes
get
you
up.
personally. There was a famous Limehouse knocker-upper called Mary Smith, but she had a fantastic technique, which was shooting peas out of a pea shooter at the windows. Isn't that cool?
That's very cool.
And she look a marvellous sight.
Yeah.
Mary is my kind of woman.
Yeah?
Put it this way.
Would you
Mary
like-
was round mine, she would not be getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
It's wonderful. The way she's got her hand on her hips. But anyway, there you are. A knocker-upper's knocker-upper was a human alarm clock's human alarm clock. Now, which organisation do these people represent?
The BNP.
Ku Klux Klan.
The what?
The Ku Klux Klan.
No, those are not clansmen.
Druids.
Nor are they
Ghosts.
druids. Nor are they
The
ghosts.
dressing gown enthusiasts of Northern England.
Something more than a dressing gown, there,
Are
isn't
they
it?
religious people?
They are?
Is it the worst Halloween party ever where everyone's turned up the same?
Yes. No, it isn't. What a gesture.
Is it some sort
Catholic-
of Catholic procession in Spain?
Spain, Spanish Catholics, absolutely right. They're penitents, and they're called capirotes, these particular things they wear.
They must be aware that these days that has other connotations.
They're probably like, oh,
They
we
like to
had it first.
reclaim it.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know?
not sure they've quite succeeded.
But the mystery is why an ultra-Protestant, ultra-racist, white organisation would choose a Spanish Catholic piece of headgear to represent them. Because this had been going for, 1,000 or so years, more than. All the way through the Inquisition, these were used. They were very much a symbol of the Inquisition.
Isn't there something about the Ku Klux Klan? They think they're the Knights Templar as well.
I don't think any of this Knights Templar thing is particularly true, but there are more plausible theories about its origin.
No, I didn't think they were the Knights
Oh, right, no.
Templar.
The fact that they cross on them, of course, is, obviously
Yeah.
similar
Because
to
they're so cross.
The Klan's deep roots may reside in the horse-whispering societies in rural Aberdeenshire, of all places, where there were 6 from the town of Buchan, supposedly, who went over to America and joined the Confederate Army, and afterwards formed this club of Confederate people in the South, which was largely for pranks and high-spirited larks, until some appalling man called Nathan Forrest joined it and started turning it into an excuse for burning black churches, lynching black people and murdering them.
Where does Ku Klux come from?
Well, it's from the Greek kuklos, meaning a circle. So it's the circle, and clan, as obviously, is in clan.
Yeah.
So hence the idea of the Scottish origins. There's also another thing, which is the clan tara, which is a way one clan would declare war on another, which is a very potent image of the clan. What's probably its most potent image, apart from the little pointy hat.
The burning cross.
The burning cross. Anyway, Spanish Catholics look like they're in the clan. Now, what colour is a red kite?
Blue.
Red, white.
No, thank you. The thing is, they were
it a bird?
named.
Is it a bird?
They were named before the English language had a word for orange. We just used the word red for anything that was orange as well. We had the word orange for a fruit. We didn't use it for the colour till the 16th century.
We always think it was the colour that named the fruit, and it's not the fruit that named the colour.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
So it's true of the robin redbreast, which is clearly orange, not red. We call it a redbreast. Same with the red squirrel. There you are, that's orange. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah.
And indeed, red-headed people.
Yeah.
It's not red. If they had red hair. I mean, some people do through modern use of dyes, don't they? Some of your young friends, I expect. And red deer, similarly, are not red, but they were all named before the word orange existed as a colour choice.
In those days, people would say, what's the name of that red fruit? Oh, the orange.
Yes.
Yeah, pass me one of them.
Exactly.
It could have been, not the orange that made it catch on, but the front of a robin. We could all have, front of a robin brand phones. What colour is it? Oh, it's front of a robin.
It would be
I'm just
confusing.
eating an orange. It's such a bright shade of front of a robin.
And when people were getting bullied in the playground, it would be way less offensive. Oi, front of the robin pubes. Like that.
But why is a robin associated with Christmas?
Oh, is it something to do with Jesus? I know he's very Christmassy.
Jesus.
Do you know,
Jesus Christmas?
I don't think he is, considering he started it all, I don't think he's all that Christmassy.
I don't think you can hold it against him, really.
No,
He's
from
not
fault.
entering into the spirit of Christmas.
Cheer
up. Watch Walker and Wise and have some Quality Street. Bring everyone down.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm not surprised he's lost control of the festival. Commercialism and Father Christmas, because he's not putting the effort in.
He is at Easter time, but we're not
pitched
that
it anyway.
interested.
Yeah, he's losing that to bloody eggs and bunnies.
That's true, that's true.
So I was thinking about Jesus because isn't there a story where the robin takes thorns out of his hands and then gets his
Lovely
red
idea.
breast?
There may well be. They may
Maybe
have
there's a
tried to
story,
post-connect
yeah.
the robin to... because it's obviously only in Britain that there wouldn't be nearly as much snow around the Mediterranean, certainly
of
not in
course.
Palestine.
Not because
Again, not Christmassy, is it?
No.
Where Jesus lived wasn't very Christmassy.
He wasn't. I was so angry about that.
I actually know this.
Yes,
The robin is associated with Christmas because it's the only bird within the natural world that round the period of December flies back to its original nest with its robin parents, gives them a little bit of alcohol, and then has to sit there as they're a little bit racist. I learnt it in biology.
That's very good. The actual reason it is because we associate Christmas with Christmas cards, and Christmas cards were delivered by postmen wearing bright red uniforms who were known as redbreasts or robins. That was their nickname. The robins come around for Christmas, and so people started putting on Christmas card a robin to show that a robin would be delivering it. And it was that reason, which is unusual. But to return to our red kites, do you know anything about red kites in Britain?
I think they were reintroduced. They'd gone extinct in
Yeah.
England, and they were reintroduced very successfully.
That's
And now
right.
There's loads of them in
There
the
are.
south of England.
The thing was, in medieval times, it was actually the law that you had to kill one if you saw one. You actually had to
kill it?
Yes, you had to. If you were seen observing a red kite without trying to kill it, you were breaking the law. Wow. That was really absurd.
amazing.
So the numbers drastically reduced. Fortunately, there now are 1,800 breeding pairs of red kites. It's been a hugely successful introduction. And lastly, how did the monkey wrench get its name?
I'm nervous of this, because this was a fact that came up on The Unbelievable Truth.
The marvellous Radio 4
And
quiz
there
show.
is it has happened before that facts we've asserted on The Unbelievable Truth have been, I think the word is mocked. This programme for being factually incorrect. And, I'll be honest with you, I don't do all the fact-checking.
Ditto, I have to say.
But on that show, what was given to me on a piece of paper to read out was the fact that the monkey wrench was named after a person whose name was something like Monka, and he was some kind of, I don't know, technical...
You could not have parenthesised it more, but nonetheless, we
Yeah.
are beastly rivals of yours. And you did mock us in your last series when you...
Again, well, the person that handed me the piece of paper put on it a piece of QI fact error bottery.
We had
It's
said...
turning into war.
I know, you're right. From now on, it is peaceful.
But we're like, in this war, we're like the southern states. We haven't got the resources, and we're going to turn to racism as a result.
that Jew boy Fry said. I hope you don't go that far. But no, we incorrectly said that Descartes, René Descartes, believed that monkeys could speak, but didn't, because if they did, it would put them to work. In fact, Descartes reported that he'd heard this belief. And you correctly said that, and mocked us correctly.
You're right.
It was a rap over the knuckles. But there you go, that's minus 50 to David, of course. The answer, actually, is it's a kind of rather gigantic, not quite sure. The Americans
So we might be
claim
right.
it. No, we know that it isn't Mr. Monkey, because an article written in the 1880s said that the true inventor, Charles Monkey, was dying in poverty despite inventing this incredibly useful thing. The problem here is the term monkey wrench was used in England as early as 1807, and these articles were written in the 1880s, so it's just obviously completely impossible for that to be the case. It's generally believed that it's the face of it reminded people of the jaws of a monkey, you know, or that a monkey version of something in the Navy is a sort of rigging up of something.
But it's not all bad news for Mr. Monkey, because he is the originator of the phrase "spank the monkey." So, you know, he didn't die in vain.
Exactly. Well, there we go. So I'm sorry about that, minus 50. Nobody knows how or why a monkey wrench is so called, though we do know that it wasn't for the reason given on David's otherwise excellent and superb radio show. Which brings us to the matter of scores.
Oh, dear.
Goodnessly, graciously...
Murray can't help me now.
I'm afraid it's pretty inevitable that in last place with minus 41 is David Mitchell.
That means I was on 9.
Yes, it does. You were on plus 9. And you saved Alan from ignominy, who is on minus 20 in third place. A magnificent second place for Jack Whitehall, minus 7. But what a QI kind of mind, what an incredible score, what an amazing debut from Sarah Pascoe with plus 28! Well, that's all for this week, so it's good night and thank you from Sarah, Jack, David, Alan and me. Good night.